Hello students, we are still discussing stage fear under the title Perspectives on Neurolinguistics Programming. As I told you that neurolinguistic programming is very important to become a good anchor and stage fright, and under the caption stage fright we discuss the various definitions of stage fright. What do we mean by stage fright and what are the reasons for stage fright, and again I am going to discuss what causes a stage fright, because knowing the causes of a stage fright will help to overcome the stage fright. So, what causes a stage fright? Very important. Personal traits related to a stage frights are hypersensitivity, which can be traced back to a nervous system that reacts more strongly to external stimuli. Hypersensitivity, as we discuss that every individual is different from each other. I may have hypersensitivity or the other may have sensitivity. So, hypersensitivity means the height of any kind of anxiety or sensitivity. It may be there in one's personality, maybe for something that happened in the past. Maybe some person failed miserably and that causes this kind of hypersensitivity. Now, a perfectionist attitude, people who are often not easily satisfied about themselves, this may be caused also by the pressure the person feels from her or his environment. I cannot let them down. Now, a person who is conscious of his or her personality image, because stage fear is for the future presentation and stage fear is also a kind of self-obsessed attitude. If one is self-obsessed, so when a perfectionist attitude is there, well, people will never satisfied with their presentation, always more and more, and the kind of attitude that I cannot let them down. Now, Kenny, Davis and Oates 2004 found that in experienced performers, perfectionism is strongly correlated with trait anxiety. And this is very true, that if a person who is extraordinarily good speaker, good orator, well, the anxiety level may be very high unless he is not seasoned or experienced, or she is not seasoned or experienced. Why? That feeling of perfectionist attitude, that I have to do the best come what may, and that creates anxiety, that creates anxiety level very high, and these are the causes for stage fright at different level. Now, an anxious person, introverted and neurotic people in general are more anxious. Who are anxious person? A person who talks well, who mixed up with the people very easily, who speaks a lot and who is extrovert, may not have such kind of fear because he has already faced the crowd, he or she has already faced the society and knows various kind of people and experience action and reaction as well. But a person who is introvert may not be aware of the social reaction or action. What kind of people he or she is going to face, that kind of fear is always there. That is why it is very important to look in oneself. Social phobia, people who are preoccupied with thoughts about how others think about them, and this is already we discussed that such kind of attitude helps to nurture negative thought. Why to think about other? What are they thinking? Why not concentrating our own task, that the task is to deliver good talk? What other things let them think? So, this is a kind of social phobia, and that is why it is always advisable to make friends, to talk, to go to the party, to go to the social functions, to know different kind of people, and that will make you extrovert, and that may neutralize the social phobia of not to face the person. Pessimistic attitude to life, and such people, what happen, they will mostly confined inside the house, and keeping always there inside the house, they may not allow themselves to mix up with the crowd, the society, and pessimistic attitude develop. So people who are more pessimistic and therefore more susceptible to fear and depression, kind of suspicion that everything will go wrong. Why? Because of sometime melancholic spirit, because of maybe sometime isolation, sometime loneliness as well as aloneness. So one has to remove this, even the pessimistic thought, pessimistic attitude. People with fewer effective coping strategies, knowing how to deal with fear, experience more feelings of powerlessness, which makes them anxious. And it is quite natural. The more you think negative, the more you think in a very susceptible manner, naturally you will lose the power to strengthen yourself when you are delivering a talk. So, insufficient technique. What are the insufficient technique? Havas 1983 states, the root of most problems concerning stage fright lies in forced and faulty physical action. The problems of the mental attitude often arise merely as a result of physical distortion. Very true. I mean, your surrounding, the audience, if you are looking constantly at the audience or the crowd, that is true, and in only few people who are laughing, smiling for some other cause also, but you think that they are very sarcastic about your speech. Now that will help you to develop negative thought. And these are the insufficient technique. You think positive, you look at those who are listening you very carefully. If someone is creating hindrance, you try to avoid. That is the best way, because surrounding, the circumference, the ambience, very important when you speak. But then you have to get, or you have to, I mean you need to get the positive aspect out of those resources to perform well in front of the audience. What can be done about stage fright? Now there are different strategy, methods and therapies for dealing with stage fright, because basically it is the mental problem, basically it is a cognitive problem. Now medication with beta blockers used most frequently. Now they decrease physiological symptoms, but not always the stress as it is felt. It can't lead to flat playing. I mean, you have to develop, because we have seen that sometimes anxiety is so high that it is very difficult to control or to manage that. So you know first that what kind of anxiety you have. Then medication and meditation, both the way you can control those anxieties. Now relaxation techniques such as yoga, meditation, auto-generously training, I mean as yet there is insufficient research data of good quality to make definite a statement about the effectiveness of this technique. The reason behind is that we all human beings are different from each other. And as I said that the level of anxiety varies from person to person, from X to Y, from A to Z. Now, so as per your level of anxiety, you have to fix up the medication or the strategy to neutralize or to reduce the very power of anxiety. This is fact that there is no strategy, firm strategy, definite strategy written in a book. With the help of that you can reduce. You have to apply as per your psychology and your attitude. Now, hypnotherapy. While discussing the perspectives of neurolinguistics, we discussed hypnotherapy, which is very important part of neurolinguistic programming. So, Santon found a significant decrease in experienced anxiety among test subjects who received hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy is a kind of meditation. That is to say that complete concentration, and you come out in a new world where you are not obsessed with anyone. So, that is a kind of deep meditation. The research was based on self-evaluation. The students were not tested in a performance situation. So, in hypnotherapy, what happened that you are totally connected and based on your mental cognitive aspect and no other things, no distortion. So, even this kind of therapy may give you some kind of relaxation if you are nurturing, developing negative thought in great manner. Now, realistic thinking, this is also a very important aspect to reduce the negative thinking. Not making the event too big. You do not fail as a person after a performance that went less well. Now, letting go of delusions of grandeur. So, not making the event too big. You do not fail as a person after a performance. Now, this is, you think, I mean, once you are ready or once you are ready to go to the stage, you think, well, whatever you have prepared, it is fine, it is okay, and you have to speak up. It is not the question of life and death. And it is not the question of that if you are not going to, your life is going to ruin. So, realistic thinking, and if you neutralize that kind of anxiety, certainly you will be able to control your emotion on the stage. The audience is not your enemy. Yes, this is very important cognitive aspect, as I discussed earlier also, because if you look at somebody in the audience, he or she is smiling for some other reason, but you are thinking that he or she is smiling to listen to you, sarcastic, I mean, it may disturb you, and once you are going to be disturbed, the failure will occur. So, the audience is not your enemy. If you develop, nurture this thinking, people will still like you even if you perform less for once. Much research has been done into the area of positive thinking. Yes, positive thinking, and that is why hypnotherapy, meditation, this is all related to realistic thinking. Many researchers conclude that especially the absence of negative thoughts prior to and during the performance is the explanatory factor for a decrease in anxiety. So, when you discuss, when you think that the audience are not enemy, I mean is not enemy, rather friend, the entire fear or the anxiety will remove. Considering that the cognitive component is the most important component in maintaining and worsening of stage fright, apparently the following strategy work well, like learning to accept that a certain measure of anxiety and making a small mistakes during the public performance are normal. We all are human beings. And if we commit any mistake, well, it's fine, we are not God. We may commit mistakes. And then learning to enjoy the performance instead of wondering what the audience will think the whole time. This is also a very realistic approach. What audience is thinking, that is not your problem. What you are saying, that is your real problem, that it should be delivered well. And encouraging yourself and focusing on realistic task oriented thought. So, yes, I mean you should be task oriented, not audience oriented or the ambience oriented. And this is a kind of concentration on the task you are given to deliver. So, you think of that, this is all realistic thinking, it will make you successful speaker. Now, practicing this is also one of the very important aspects. Over learning, sometimes this works and sometimes it does not. Excessive practicing can also increase anxiety. Yes, it is always advisable that you study day and night. But before one day of the examination, you go to the bed well on time and take rest, so that you may not feel tired, you may not feel anxious. Similarly with the stage also. So, overlearning sometimes may create confusion and harassment. So, a better approach is the systematic variation of the performance conditions and gradually incorporating more conditions as in the concert situation. This is congruent with knowledge from kinetic research, that you learn and learn and learn, but before going to the stage, you take rest and give some space to your mind to think about your learning or the strategy you are going to follow when you are on the stage. Visualization, imagining the performance, often in combination with a relaxation technique. Objective is that the presenter is able to imagine the performance without experiencing anxiety. This appears especially to reduce cognitive anxiety. This is a kind of remedy that you think, a kind of enjoyment that you are going to speak to entertain the audience and develop this kind of feeling into your mind. And when you will develop this feeling into your mind, automatically a relaxation will come to your mind. And if you are relaxed while delivering a lecture, very cool, very good, and people will appreciate that the presentation was excellent. Physiotherapy. Now, psychotherapy, behavioral therapy aimed at behavioral symptoms, cognitive therapy explaining the problem, making it possible to talk about the problem, therapy that gives insight for underlying problems in the personality structure. Many trainings for dealing with a stage fright contain elements which are derived from behavioral therapy or cognitive therapy. So, we have already discussed the behavioral component, physiological component and cognitive component. So, psychotherapy, when you are feeling that where is the problem, you can discuss this problem openly. And if you can hit the problem, that where the problem occur, how to neutralize it, reduce it, you will be able to neutralize the problem or the anxiety. Insight into what drives you. Wondering why it is you who make presentation, how do you want to function as a speaker, what makes the subject special for you, what is your own individuality without comparing your achievement in part to those of other aspects that have to do with self-image and identity. Be the individual, be yourself. Insight into yourself, the introspection is the best way, and what you want to deliver it in a very noble form. Why to imitate other? Why to think of other that he or she is a very good speaker? Why not me? Don't think of other, you just judge yourself and you think that how much justice you can do with the given topic, and you think in a very positive manner that you are going to speak in the best manner possible. I am sure that that will give you energy to speak best on the given topic. Now, the best way of learning how to deal with a stage fright is self-examination and taking charge of the measure that best fit you to combat anxiety. Yes, how to deal with the stage fright is self-examination. For me, it may not be very serious, but as we were discussing that sometimes it goes so high up to the level where some kind of medication is required. So, it is a kind of self-examination, how to take your problem. You realize yourself and accordingly you combat your anxiety. Now, this is the model of a stage fright influencing factor, the presenter, then anxious and hypersensitivity, insufficient preparation, introvert, neurotic, narcissist. Much depends on his social phobia, playing by heart, perfectionism, routines of the performance practice, ineffective coping strategies, size of the audience, lack of technique, bad working condition. Because everything needs some kind of practice, everything needs some kind of training. So, if you have all the negative aspect around you, naturally you are going to fail. So, give some kind of practice, think better of the audience, think positive for your performance is going to help you all the time. It is going to improve your performance. Controlling the symptoms. Recognize the stress as excitement. The physiological symptoms associated with public speaking are virtually the same as those you would experience if you rode a roller coaster, went on your first rafting trip, or got married. The real difference is that you have learned to associate fright with being on a stage, on fun, with being on a roller coaster. Yes, the heart palpitation. What happened to the roller coaster? My goodness, how to manage the heart palpitation? The goal of a stage fright control is not to make the symptoms go away. The goal is to learn ways to make the adrenaline rush work for you rather than against you. And it will work when you think positive to change the hormone. Now, watch what you eat. It is also very important, because to control the nervous system, your physical gesture, posture, your behavioral component, it is very important that what you are going to eat or take before you are coming to the stage. For many people, the most debilitating symptoms of a stage fright are the consequences of the digestive system shutting down, indigestion. Why? Because of the anxiety, and the entire digestion get disturbed. Figure out what your own digestive system does or does not do under stress, and see that you time your food intake to accommodate it. Advice varies from person to person, but here is list of the most common solution to various problem, because it is always advisable that you take light food that may not going to hit your cognitive component as well as your physical component. So, avoid milk, it creates phlegm, and which is unpleasant and can be annoying while you speak. Maintain sugar levels, because you are under stress, the body is using up its high energy sugar reserves, but you will not feel the normal hunger pangs. You have no desire to eat out of nervousness. The thought of food might even make you feel sick because of the negative ideas and the negative thought and the fatigueness, but you nevertheless can begin to feel the effects of low blood sugar, depression, anxiety, irritability, lack of concentration, forgetfulness, confusion, headache, body tremors, cold hands and feet. Well, this is all are the symptoms of stage fright. Eat sensibly. So, your best bet is to eat a low fat meal of complex carbohydrates a couple of hours before the presentation. Avoid alcohol, nicotine and caffeine. Develop a feeling to be a good and a strong presenter. Finally, it goes to you. Your mind. If you think that you can, because your mind is your real being, and the entire discussion hovers around the mental development, because when you prepare your topic, when you have decided to speak, it is you who is taking the decision. It is you who is putting all the effort to become a good presenter. So, when you think that yes, you need to be a very good and a strong presenter, it is you who has to decide, because there is no remedy to take to become a very good presenter or a speaker. It is all your source. And what are the sources? Sources your thinking, sources your perception, thinking your how to take the resources around you, because remember when we were discussing perspectives on neuro-linguistic programming, well, we discussed the outsource resources also. And if you are rigid, naturally you are going to fail. If you are flexible, I mean, sometimes it happens that it is blackout. Your mind or your brain completely shut down. What happened in that situation? You have to develop your own. And you have to use your creativity, because every person has creativity to some extent. So, how to exploit that creativity all depends on you. So, in that situation, when you are missing something and when it is blackout, you try to energize yourself and to rebuild the confidence to speak up again in front of the audience. That is why it is very important to develop a feeling to be a good and a strong presenter. And this is how that you can control your nerves. Again, I just want to tell you one thing more, that it is not a one day affair. Practicing, and we also discuss mirroring while discussing perspectives on neuro-linguistic, that you practice such things in the mirror. You speak, because you know one of the failure and one of the regions for failure is your body physical component. So, you look into the mirror that what kind of gesture and posture you are posing automatically while delivering lecture. If you find something very ridiculous, something very out of date, you can remove that. You yourself feel that no, it should not go with the talk. So, this is the mirroring is the best way to practice, and in my opinion, there is nothing like practicing. The more you speak, the more you read, the more you gain knowledge, the more you would be the best presenter. And for that also, as I discussed, that the more you come out of your room and mix up with the people. Because to becoming a good presenter, what is required most? That you know the people, you know the people's sentiment, their action or reaction, and if you are able to know their action or reaction, I am sure that one day you will be a good presenter. It is all the game of time. It is all the matter of your choice, whether you fail or whether you get success. So, control your mind. That is why I said that if you want to be, you will, because your mind is your real being. With this, I just conclude the topic of stage fear under the banner, under the subject of perspectives on neuro-linguistic programming. Thank you very much.